Hi everybody, here we have our first bowl for bowl making. You're going to look in your house for a bowl that you can use. Please ask permission. Mine is plastic. If you're nervous of breaking something, don't choose an already ceramic bowl. But please ask if it's okay with whichever one you choose. My bowl is smooth on the inside. We put our clay on the inside of these bowls because a lot of bowls have feet, just like this one, or maybe a little indent. And we don't want that indent to come across on our bowl. So we put the clay on the inside, not the outside. This bowl also has a nice gentle slope to it. If you find a bowl with really tall walls, that it's more vertical walls like this one, it's going to be more challenging to put the clay inside. It's not impossible, but it's just a little more difficult. So once you choose your bowl, we're going to put saran wrap on it so that the clay does not stick to it. If you don't have saran wrap or plastic wrap, you can get a paper towel. I put 2 of my cubes of clay together before rolling in case I needed extra. I wasn't sure how much I would need. So 2 is a great way to start. Remember, when rolling a slab, you turn it a little, roll it, turn it a little, roll it, turn it a little, roll it. Our goal is to have it roll out like a circle. At some point, flip it over, pause, and remove all of the cracks and lines and marks that you see. We would like our clay to be about 1/4 of an inch thick. So take your time. If you mess up, if it's too thin, you can start over. And then check it everywhere. Make sure that it's not too thick on one side of it. The bowl will dry lopsided if that's the case. You want your slab to be the same thickness everywhere. We're starting with 1/4 of an inch because that way we're going to thin it out a little when we smooth it. So it's better to have an extra thick slab than a really, really, really thin bowl. So when we smooth it, we poke a hole through immediately. That would be horrible. So you're going to put your saran wrap down and make sure the saran wrap is touching all of the sides of your bowl mold. You don't want there to be any air pockets. Once it's on there, you can lay your clay. Seems like it would be really simple. You just set it on there. But that's not the case because now the clay has air pockets between the walls of your bowl mold, the one that you originally started with, and your clay slab. So you can see I'm bending a little bit of my slab to make sure it is starting to touch the inside walls. This is similar to when we made pinch pots. We were so bummed with so many fingerprint marks, but then we spend time to smooth them out after, and it looks just fine. So I can tell there's some air between my bowl and my clay. So I'm pressing. This is just like when you're making a pie crust. You want to be very delicate and gentle so you don't poke any holes through your clay slab. And you also want it to touch the inside of your mold. If you mess up at any point, just ball up your clay, press it back together into a smallest tiny cube you can, and re-roll it. So I have a lot of marks on my bowl, and I'm going to now get a sponge and water and smooth them out. Take your time. You might take longer than me. So now I'm going to smooth. We smooth our bowl maybe 3 or 4 different times. The first initial smoothing of your bowl is to get large indents out. If you start to do this and you see that there is a spot that will not be smoothed, there is an indent that might be a hole, it just doesn't look great, then start over. Once you get any major chunks or indents out, then you can cut around some of this excess clay. It's hard to maneuver around the bowl mold with all of this clay hanging over the edge. So I'm cutting off some of the larger pieces. Now I'm going to go back with my sponge and smooth it. Remember, every piece of clay you cut, you can save for another project. So the challenge is holding the bowl and not having it move around while you're smoothing. You can hold on to the saran wrap. You can hold the bottom of the bowl as long as you don't drop it. And you're just using water and a sponge to remove any marks. Might be a fingerprint, might be some indents from maybe the way you rolled it, or just the clay when you were holding it, or maybe the clay folded over and it made a weird crack. But you want this to start looking really nice. This is what your bowl will dry to look like. So this is what you want to take the most time doing. You can see here, I have some clumped up saran wrap, which I'm going to need to smooth out. And my clay is wrapped over the edge of my bowl. If I left that there, when it dried, it would shatter into a million pieces and I'd have to start over. We never leave clay around the edge of the bowl. So here's my first cut around the edge of the bowl. I'm taking the sharpest tool I have, which is an X-Acto knife, and I'm holding my knife at a little bit of an angle, and I'm cutting around all of that extra clay. I'm going to do this 1 or 2 more times, but the first initial cut is a great way to test it out and see, are you accidentally going to have any clay that's folded over the edge? You do not want any. You cannot leave any clay that wraps around the top of your bowl. So now I can see little mess ups. I can see I didn't cut it perfectly straight, and I can also see the saran wrap is bunched up here and there. So I'm going to try to smooth out the saran wrap. I'm going to go all the way around and check it. If I leave a bump, it'll just dry with a bump. So you want to take your time. This is a pretty easy project, making just one slab. So this is the most work for this project, is just making sure it lays flat inside your bowl mold. All right, now I'm going to go back with my sponge and smooth it once again. Remember, I started with my clay about 1/4 of an inch thick. Every time I go around my clay slab and smooth it out, I'm pressing it in and it's getting a little thinner. Once I do that, I'm going to smooth it for, again, another 3 or 4 minutes, and then I'm going to cut it. Every time I smooth it, it gets a little thinner, so the edge starts to press out around the top of the bowl, so I need to recut. Also, I can take my time and cut it so that it looks a little bit smoother. Now I'll get my sponge and smooth it one more time. So you're just going to be doing this back and forth, smoothing and trimming until it looks as perfect as it can. There is nothing wrong. At any point you need to start over. If one side of the bowl is too thin, you need to start over. You want it to look symmetrical everywhere. Radial symmetry. From the center out, it should all match. We don't put this in a bag that's sealed 100% when we clean up. We put a layer of saran wrap on top. What we'll do is we will remove this day 2, and then we will see if the bowl can stand up on its own out of the bowl mold. If that's the case, then we're able to smooth the underside. And then after that, we'll go to the next step of sanding. Okay, good luck.